I'm Mark, and this is Jonathan. And Jonathan, really excited about today's show. This is finally rivalry week. Lots of good games.
Yep. I'm so excited. We're battling for apples this week. We're battling for eggs, iron, palmettos. We're even battling for interstate. You know what the best part about this week, though, is, in my opinion?
What's that?
The records, throw them out the window. Because we even have clean, old-fashioned hate. So it doesn't matter where these teams are sitting right now. This week, it doesn't matter. It's all about game on Saturday. There's some really bad teams facing some great teams, and they don't care because they still expect to beat them because they're their rival. So
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, that's a good point. So we've got so many good games to pick this week.
do.
So we're a little pick heavy this week, but we did want to recap what happened last week and some of the games there. So let's just get to it and start.
Mm-hmm.
One of the surprising games from last week was Mississippi State and Arkansas.
Yeah, it was.
That one was a lot closer than we were projecting. We didn't even talk about that game.
Yeah,
honestly.
it was one of those things where it was a good thing that it was close. With everything that's going on in Arkansas, they fired Jeff Long, their longtime AD. And you just think the Billima, they expecting we're going to lose him as a coach there soon. And, it was just good to see a pride out of them a little bit. Just like kind of a final stand for them. They're not going to let their season end without a fight. And that was great for them. But on the other side, give credit Mississippi State winning a hard-fought game.
Yeah. Yeah, Mississippi State, they did, at the end of the game, they went for a touchdown and they ended up scoring for just less than 20 seconds left to play. So it was a gut-wrenching win for Mississippi State, but one of those games in the SEC, all SEC wins are created equal.
Yep.
I mean, to win in that league, you really have to play your A game every week.
Especially on the road.
Especially on the road. Should be mentioned that Austin Allen got to play a little bit for Arkansas as well, so that was good to see. But credit Mississippi State for getting out there with a victory. They've got Ole Miss this week in the Egg Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
All right, another game, surprising finish, Kansas State and Oklahoma State. Jonathan, that was a surprising finish. We weren't expecting that.
Yeah, the outcome we weren't expecting. Yeah, it's one thing, you see, we got Snyder as a coach, like I said last week. You never fully expect them out of a game, but the way they played behind that freshman quarterback was just phenomenal. Unfortunately, OK State is finding troubles on defense again. Mason Rudolph had a good game, but it's still just not enough when that defense is not getting any stops.
Yeah, if you would have asked me, would I have predicted Kansas State's offense to go toe-to-toe with Oklahoma State going into that game, I would have said, no way, no chance. But credit them for doing that and that quarterback who might have earned Player of the Week awards,
maybe
freshman-wise.
But how about this? This is, again, a third-string quarterback at the beginning of the year making big plays for their team at the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't understand why these quarterbacks transfer so easily because you're always one injury away from seeing the field. But big picture for this game as well, it should be noted that Oklahoma State, they're now in a three-way tie for third place in the Big 12 where they might have had an outside shot to do some things later in the season. So this hurts their bowl projections.
Yeah, they're not completely out of the Big 12 just yet with that third, but it takes a lot of, they're joking at the end of, I think it's the Oklahoma game, that they showed 3 situations where 3 teams can win right now. And at the bottom, it was just, these are just the easiest calculations of a team get in. So there's still so many ways a team can get in that second spot. OU is pretty much a given in the one spot, but TCU is probably a given as well. But there's still a chance, but it's going to take some craziness.
It was more the New Year's Six bowls that people were talking about, but I think they might have played themselves out of that with that loss. So let's talk about a rivalry game, UCLA and USC. Jonathan, you had a chance to watch that game. What did you see?
Yeah, it was a really good game where both offenses really controlled between the 20s. And both defenses really stepped up and made some plays in the red zone. And it was a really good game. It was exactly what you expected it to be when you had 2 quarterbacks at this level, both Mel Kiper's 1 and 2s for the draft next year. And, I really thought Josh Rosen actually won the battle of the quarterbacks, but USC was just as a team to be able to make a few more plays to get out there with a close win.
Yeah, and big picture from this game is Jim Moore Jr. gets fired. So you're seeing all these schools that want to make a change at head coach. You know, they're firing their coach before the season ends to try to get a head start on getting one of these top, highly touted guys.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned that we're in the show beforehand. Like, you know, maybe it's some of the fact that Florida's moving quick on Chip Kelly this last week, and now UCLA's in that battle with them too. And last I saw, Chip Kelly met with UF officials last night and UCLA officials today. So, does Chip Kelly choose to go back to the Pac-12 or give a shot at the SEC? That'll be interesting. Either situation would be good for him. I think both recruiting areas, he's going to find players.
It's probably safe to say that before the end of the week, Chip Kelly will have signed a contract somewhere. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So that's the big news out of UCLA from this past Saturday. All right, let's talk about one of the hottest teams in college football. Jonathan, this game wasn't on our radar either, Missouri and Vanderbilt, but we did want to bring this up, that Missouri's won 5 games in a row, one of the hottest teams we feel in college football. But could you have predicted this coming?
No, it's one of those things where they're finally playing like we thought they had a chance to early at the beginning of the year. I mean, we both thought they'd have a decent year. Because we thought, the offense would show up. And, they just didn't for so long. And then it seems like after that Auburn game, it seemed like that bye week they were able to make some changes. And they're not only playing well on offense, they're playing well on defense as well. They're playing like a team like you kind of expected out of Missouri. They're looking more like the defenses the last couple of years when they were making that run when they went to back-to-back SEC championships.
Yeah.
They had some really good defenses there. And then you just thought, during that time, like, if they could just figure out this offense. Even though they had some playmakers here and there, but they couldn't get on offense consistently those years. And now it seemed like, they're going to have this offense now, and the defense is struggling. So they're starting to put it all together, which is great for them. They make a bowl now, which is huge. I think that's the biggest deal out of them all. The record now doesn't matter. They made it a bowl. They can Barry Odom, while they're doing things right with these players, more hands-on time with them, get them ready for that bowl. But more importantly than this bowl, yes, it's great for the seniors, but this is huge for them moving forward next year. They might be putting themselves in a position where they might be competing with Georgia next year in the SEC East. Early prediction.
Yeah. Keep an eye on that Missouri team next year for sure. All right, Michigan and Wisconsin, that was our marquee game for the week. Story continues for Michigan, just struggling on offense. Jonathan, what was your big takeaway from this game?
Yeah, they had a chance to win this game. I thought they had it in control. They had a touchdown taken away early in the game that you can call either way. It was called on the field not, so it stayed not. But they were competing, and then the very next play, the quarterback fumbled it at the 2. So they had opportunities there, but I really felt like they were able to manage the game well. Kind of like you were talking about Mississippi State was doing against Bama a few weeks ago. But unfortunately, a little bit of a chip late hit on the quarterback got him injured, and it seemed like from that point it was all Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah, tough loss for them. Wisconsin, is this really a resume booster? I mean, with the loss, Michigan's going to be bounced from the top 25.
And even if they somehow get 25, only drop a little because of their opponent, they have Ohio State next week. So they got another loss coming, more likely.
Yeah.
So
big takeaway from this one is it doesn't really boost Wisconsin's resume for this win.
Yeah. So it's still the question is what resume do they have? That's great. It's great they're undefeated, but they're sitting right now strength of schedule 67. You compare that. I was looking at a comparison earlier that they were showing Oklahoma and Auburn even compared to them. If it came down to them 3 for a last spot. Oklahoma's sitting at 12, Auburn's at 16 strength of schedule. So I would think that way that looks bad, 66 compared to 12 and 16. So that's definitely going to hurt them.
Yeah, be sure to tune into our playoff picture on Facebook for more on that. All right, Players of the Week awards, Jonathan. Let's start out with your freshman for the week.
I mentioned him earlier. Skylar Thompson, quarterback for Kansas State. He only went 10 for 13. Only. He had 204 yards passing, and he had 3 touchdowns. He had a great day for them. Even ran the ball well, had a touchdown on the ground. So he had a great game. So I'm giving it to the big freshman.
Yeah, really impressed with that victory at Oklahoma State. He had a huge part in that one.
Yep.
I went with Sam Ehlinger, quarterback from Texas. Not a great stat game for him. It's mainly what the win created for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
They become bowl eligible, tied for third in the Big 12. So, that's huge for Tom Herman in his first year at Texas.
Yep.
In light of how they started the season, I thought that was a good win for them. And so credit Sam Ehlinger, the freshman.
Yeah. I have a honorable mention, but the Robinson kid for TCU this week. He came in first road. He came in last week for Kenny Hill. Kenny Hill's got a concussion. Moving forward, that could be a problem for TCU and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
The Big 12 championship, not living up to what it could be if he doesn't get better. But he didn't have great numbers, but he went on the road to Texas Tech, and they won pretty handily. He played a lot better the second half. So props to the freshman coming in a situation like that on the road and playing a good game.
Yeah, so our freshman of the week had a big Big 12 flavor, wouldn't you say?
Just a little bit.
All right, who was your offensive player of the week?
But my offensive player again, I mentioned him earlier, the winner of the battle of Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen. He just went 32 for 52. He had just 421 yards of passing. He had 3 touchdowns and just 1 interception a game, and he had a really good game against that USC defense.
Yeah, which they have so much talent. That's pretty impressive out of Rosen. I went with Nick Chubb. He had 151 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns in that victory against Kentucky. I was impressed with Georgia rebounding after that disappointing loss at Auburn. So the theme was don't let Auburn beat you twice. So I think they lived up to that, and Nick Chubb. We've seen when Georgia has the running game going, that sets up their pass game, and they do a good job. So credit Nick Chubb for that.
Yeah, and good for them. And it was big senior day for them in Georgia. They were talking about it was a big deal for that senior class. First one in a long time you got undefeated against the SEC East. We're talking about the SEC East being down last few years. That's still an accomplishment. Anytime you go through even your conference play to get to a championship unsaved, that's a big deal. Especially that the East, even though it's been down, it's been competitive the last few years. We've seen several lost teams winning it, so that's great for them.
Yep. Who was your defensive player of the week?
Mine, I went with Jaquan Johnson, Miami DB. Again, he led his team in tackles. He had 9, including a sack. But his biggest play was he had a pick 6. That actually was the one that tied them at 28 when they were down a second time by 14 in that game. Those that didn't watch, they were down 14-0 against Virginia. And then they caught back up, and then Virginia went back up 2 more scores again. And then the second, they tied it with this interception for a touchdown. So I'm going to give it to Johnson, getting that turnover chain on a big moment. And that was all Miami after he got that chain. Yeah,
that's the second straight week that he's made our Player of the Week award. So credit to him. He's a huge part of their defense. I ended up going with Nate Hall. He's the linebacker out of Northwestern. He had 7 total tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss in the shutout victory against Minnesota. So I was impressed with that. So I went with him for my defensive player of the week. So good stuff there. That recaps last week's games. Now we're going to get to this week. Jonathan, you're really excited. You even tossed a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So this is a big deal. Okay.
I love rivalry week. It's the best. And then we get to start it off with Turkey Day. We can eat turkey all day.
That's true. So the way that we're going to do this for you guys is we're going to give you 9 quick picks, and then we're going to give you 9 actual picks with a little bit more analysis. So
we're going pretty deep on quick picks today.
We are. So let's get to it. Okay. So first game is on Friday. We've got a good mixture of Thursday, Friday games with our Saturdays. So Missouri and Arkansas. We've already talked a little bit about Arkansas, but Missouri.
I expect this will be a little bit closer. I think Arkansas is going to have another good game, but I love how Missouri's playing right now. So I'm going to go with Mizzou. Get the win on the road.
All right, and add to the win list.
Yep.
Let's go with this one should have been probably more touted and anticipated, but both of these teams have struggled this year.
Yeah.
Florida and Florida State. It's going to be in the swamp. How do you see that one playing out?
When I'm stuck in a swamp, I feel safer being a Gator, so I'm gonna go with the Gators reluctantly. But this one, I don't know what to expect. Both teams found offense this week compared to what they've been doing.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Somehow
true.
Florida scored 30. I think that's a bigger deal than Florida State pulling up 70 against Delaware State slightly, but
Yeah,
I
probably.
think both teams are happy that they found offense.
It definitely had something to do with the opponents, but credit both offenses. You know, still got to move the ball. Let's talk about two SEC teams, both winless in the conference, both 0-7. Jonathan, Vanderbilt and Tennessee. Who gets this game?
Okay, this is the polar opposite of two teams, I think. Tennessee, continuing calling them a dumpster fire is a discredit to dumpster fires at this point. Where Vandy, they've just played everyone at their best. I feel. I think Vandy's a really good team. They've got Ralph Webb, one of the best running backs in the country, and I really like their defense still. They've just played teams either in that little run where the team was playing their best. Even this week, they ran into. If they would have played Missouri early in the year, they probably would have crushed them.
Maybe.
It's just one of those things where it's been bad luck of their scheduling when they've got people. So I like Vandy to get that win on the road in Tennessee. Because, this is another rivalry that's one of those, like, big, small school versus the big name school. Vandy doesn't like Tennessee. So with that pride a little bit there to get the big guy, I like Vandy.
All right, next let's talk about the Egg Bowl, Mississippi and Mississippi State. That's a Thursday night game.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan, who you got?
I'm going to try to be shorter on this one, but I do like Ole Miss with Tim U at quarterback. And even Shea Patterson, I think their offense is a lot better with him there. Their potential for offense is there. He's just a young guy that he's still making mistakes. And because of that, I like Mississippi State with it in Starkville to win the game. But I think it'll be a lot closer than people expect.
Yeah, looking forward to that one.
Mm-hmm.
Cal and UCLA, winner goes to a bowl game.
And with that being said, I got the chosen one, Josh Rosen. To me, his last game as a Bruin at home, so gotta go with the kid.
Okay, I respect that pick.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State and Kansas State.
I really like on Kansas State. Their defense is still playing good ball, and behind Steiner coaching them and the young kid Thompson, he repeats what he did this week. I don't see Iowa State scoring much. Iowa State's good when they keep teams from scoring and keeps it a low-scoring game. So being at home for Kansas State, I think they're going to put up a lot of numbers.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Louisville and Kentucky. How do you see this one playing out?
You know, I got the Wildcats. I got them. They
Second
beat Louisville.
straight year.
Yeah, they'll beat them in 2 years in a row. Lamar Jackson is playing like a Heisman. The problem is none of his teams playing like a supporting cast for a Heisman. So I like Kentucky in this one.
All right, that's a good pick. Texas and Texas Tech.
This one, let me go with Texas. They're continuing to get better each week. They're a good, solid team. They're being at home. They've got some seniors that have gone through a lot. I think it'll be a big deal for them to finish off the regular season with a win.
All right, Texas A&M and LSU.
Yeah, this has been one of the more fun matchups since Texas A&M came into the conference. That being said, there's been some crazy games, but I like LSU the way they're playing right now a little better. After that, once they figured out against Florida and got that win, I think they've gotten better each week. Ed Orgeron, he's found a way to get them Tigers going. They even use the rain against Tennessee as motivation, so he'll use anything he can get.
I'm going with Texas A&M in that game in an upset, but we'll see how that one finishes out. I think LSU is definitely the better team.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to our picks for the week. So Jonathan got a lot to get to here as well, but Miami traveling to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's been playing well as of late.
Yeah.
It's a Friday game. How do you see this one coming out?
All right. I've been known the last few weeks I've done this and the team has lost. I'm going to do it again. But this is a trap game, not only because it's a Friday night game, but it's at Pitt. Pitt should have beat Virginia Tech last week. They should have.
Yeah.
There was a questionable call towards in that game that cost them that game. But with that being said, Miami and the turnover chain should get them out of this trap. They're good enough to get out of this trap, but will they? I'm going to go with Miami, but don't be surprised if this is a Pitt upset. Pitt actually beat Clemson last year in the same type situation, if you remember.
Yeah, it was
and
a little
almost
bit,
tossed Clemson in the playoffs.
Yeah, it was a little bit earlier in the season, but they did beat Clemson last year. So they're a good team. They've had a disappointing season, but how they've been playing lately, I think is a good sign for them going into the game.
Another thing you should consider, they lost James Conner, who if it wasn't for probably going through the chemo stuff, might have been the best running back in the league last year in the country. And he's playing for the Steelers now, playing well. They have a new offensive coordinator, so they had to learn a lot of new stuff early in the year. New quarterback came in, so they've had some growing pains this year, but they are playing great ball the second half of the season.
Yeah. I'm going Miami in this one. I don't see it as being really close. I think Mark Rick is going to have those guys laser focused, especially after the scare that they had last week against Virginia. I think that was their wake-up call, but we'll see. It is on the road. It is in Pittsburgh, but I'm going Miami in this one. All right, let's talk about two other Florida teams, USF and UCF. You said this is the battle for...
It is the war on I-4.
The war on I-4. What a great name for this game. UCF coming in undefeated. South Florida only has one loss, so really competitive matchup on paper. What do you see?
You could argue this is the best Florida matchup of the year. Which
Who would
is
have
crazy
predicted that?
I'm considering Miami, Florida State played this year. Miami's the best team. These are the second and third best teams. You can even say Florida Atlantic's in that conversation too. But it's just crazy how the situation goes. With that being said, I like South Florida's chances with Quentin Flowers. I think he's the best player in this matchup, especially at quarterback. But I'm going to go with UCF, who I think is a better team in this one. So I'm going to go with the Knights.
I agree with you on that one. UCF has had a great season. Scott Frost has really gotten those guys ready to play just in his first season, I guess this is his second season. So he's going to be highly sought after for these major school openings. But I like Scott Frost. I think he's going to get the job done. If UCF continues to win, they're the highest ranked non-Power 5 team, and they could make a New Year's Six bowl. So that's kind of what's at stake for UCF, and I like for them to get there. So I think they can take down South Florida.
It'll also be their first ever undefeated regular season.
That's true.
They've had some great years the last couple of years with different coaches.
Won a BCS bowl game.
Yeah, and they've yet to go undefeated in regular season. So that'll be a great opportunity for them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk about the Big 12. West Virginia and Oklahoma. Jonathan, you give West Virginia any shot at this one?
Like I said, well, there's two things going on in this game. The worst is the fact Wilger will not be playing for West Virginia. He suffered a gruesome injury early in the game against Texas. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, so that's huge. He might not, depending on when they get a bowl, he might not even get to play the bowl game now for them, which is unfortunate with how great he's been playing.
Yeah.
He's definitely been a fire under the West Virginia motor going. And then you've got the issues with Baker Mayfield and his antics in the Kansas game, which I don't even know if we want to even discuss that. And then it was beyond inappropriate and went way too far. I don't care if he got a little upset. He was very childish. They got upset over the fact that he didn't want to shake his hand at the coin toss. And even the coach kind of mentioned something, and even he kind of sounded like a child. It was childish for them to not shake hands, but at the same time, leave it at that. This is just a game. It didn't need to get as far as it went. And even at a point where Baker Mayfield was even yelling at the fans, like, y'all only have one win, go cheer on basketball. It was kind of one of those games where, like, you got to be a senior leader.
See, the thing I think Kansas failed to realize is the one thing that you don't want to do when you're playing Oklahoma is disrespect Baker Mayfield, because, and that goes for the crowd too, he gets motivated and plays his best when you make him angry. So I just think that was a very short-sighted view for Kansas. But yeah, when you're in the limelight like that, you can't afford. The camera's always going to be on you. But even if the camera wasn't on you, that goes back to integrity and doing the right thing when nobody's watching. And so it's just totally unacceptable what he did.
And unfortunately, like he's even in his apology, he made a quick apology, right? He said he should have known better and stuff, but it was one of those things too where it was.
Seemed like somebody was twisting his arm.
Yeah, it was like, but we've seen this out of him several times. I mean, let's remember that there was issues last year with his teammates, and then there's going on this year. He's been tackled, getting arrested in the spring. He's had several other issues this season. It's like, how many times is he going to get away with the apology? So that being said, his punishment is he doesn't get to be a captain senior day, and he doesn't get to start. So, question is, how long does he last not starting? Is it going to be one play, one series, one quarter, one draft, one half?
Either way, I don't think it matters. We're both taking Oklahoma in this one, so. But yeah, just kind of an interesting nugget for that game.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about a rivalry game, Ohio State and Michigan. This is usually one of the better games of the day, but Jonathan, do you see this one being a good game, or do you think this will be a blowout?
It's gonna I think we're both picking Ohio State in this game. So I'll just give a case for why Ohio State can lose this game, and it's pretty simple. It's JT Barrett. If this is a prime example of a game where everyone expects Ohio State to win, no issue. The other team has nothing really to play for but to beat them, and it's on the road. So is JT Barrett going to be thinking, okay, this is Michigan, a big game, so he's going to be out there doing what he does bad and force balls, throwing balls he shouldn't be throwing, causing turnovers left and right, and going to cost his team a should be easy win just because of the fact that he got a lecture, even though they're already in the championship. So that's not a factor. But they could, play any chance of going past that.
Yeah, I think because of there's an outside chance that Ohio State could make the playoff, that there was enough chaos. I think Ohio State will be dialed in for this one, and I don't think they'll have a problem with this, even if JT Barrett struggles, because Michigan's offense is so anemic.
Yeah.
So, like Jonathan said, we both have Ohio State in this one.
Yeah, I think. But I would say the only other thing I would say is Urban Meyer should put him on a short leash, though, considering the situation of the game and everything.
Yeah.
And his past.
Really down on JT Barrett in this show. All right, let's move on to another game. Georgia Tech and Georgia. This one's going to be in Atlanta.
Yep. It's clean old-fashioned hate is this one. So this one, I mean, this is kind of set up perfectly for Georgia Tech, if that makes any sense. They blew a game to Duke last week. Georgia took care of business last week at home. It's a road game. Georgia is focused more on what's happening in Auburn because you have to feel like Georgia wants Auburn to win that game. I feel like between the two, I think Georgia would much rather get a rematch against Auburn than play Bama. So try to avenge their loss. That they may regret what they'll be asking there. Who knows?
I don't think they are. I think they would rather face a limping Alabama team.
Well,
we can talk about that another time.
But we can. That's it. So my point is, they're going to be looking elsewhere and not focused on this option attack from Georgia Tech, which Marshall runs really well. You know, we talked about he's had some really great games this year where he's really controlled the game for Georgia Tech, and they've got some big wins this year because of it. So if they overlook Georgia Tech, worried about their next game in Atlanta, they'll lose this one.
Yeah, I've got Georgia easily in this game. Georgia Tech's been struggling a lot lately. Mm-hmm. Early in the season, they had some good numbers and some decent wins, but I like Georgia in this one. I don't think it'll even be close. And in light of what's at stake for them also in the playoff, I like for Georgia to win this one.
I'm picking Georgia, but I'm just saying this is a situation that's perfect for Georgia Tech, though, for them to be overlooking them.
I think you're going to pull the upset in our next game, though. Battle of the Palmetto State, Jonathan, Clemson, and South Carolina. You got South Carolina, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
We got to give away my picks.
Well, you know.
No, Clemson struggled against NC State, a team this South Carolina team beat pretty good early in the year. It's just a really good matchup for South Carolina. I think Clemson, their weakness, if you were to have one, is more on their offensive side of the ball, and that's South Carolina's strength. So I like the South Carolina defense matchup with the offense here.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a really good game, and it's going to be close enough. And it being at home for South Carolina, they've got enough playmakers on offense. I think they're going to be able to keep score with them. That they come down last possession, they have a chance of winning this game.
Yeah, South Carolina, they have done well this season. You know, they've had a couple of disappointing losses,
Right.
but they're still a good team. Will Muschamp has the defense playing really well.
Mm-hmm.
For Clemson, I think they've had some disappointments. They haven't quite put it all together the
Right.
whole season. So I like for Clemson to win this game. It is going to be at South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll have to play on the road, but I think just in light of what's at stake for Clemson, they're going to come up fired up and win this game. I do foresee this being a really close game. Definitely want to tune in for that one. So let's talk about the Apple Cup next.
Yep.
So what's at stake in the Apple Cup? If Washington State wins, they go to the Pac-12 championship and face USC. If they lose,
Stanford goes.
Stanford goes. So, Jonathan, do you think they can pull it off?
You know what? This is a tough matchup. I mean,
It is.
if you look at these teams, if both teams played their best, I'm going to give the nod to Washington. I think Washington's going to win this game because it's at home and they're going to play their best ball. They've not played their best ball in weeks, so I expect them to look at it pride thing. And if there's one thing as a rival, if you're not in position to win it all, and the other team is, nothing sweeter than that sweet green. Maybe it's a green apple they're looking at, a sweet apple to ruin Washington State's Pac-12 championship hopes.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. So I'm going Washington State in this game because of what's at stake. I think these teams that have either a championship game on the line or maybe it's their playoff hopes, I like for them to be motivated to win the game. It should. This is at Washington, so that'll be difficult. But I'm in agreement with you. Like if Washington played their best and Washington State played their best, then I think Washington would win the game. But I don't think that's going to happen because Washington doesn't have as much to play for as Washington State. And it should be said this way also, that Washington, their defense earlier in the year and last year when they made the college football playoff was lights out. They played really well.
Yeah.
Well, last week they gave up 30 points to a struggling Utah team. So I don't like their defense and the way that they're playing right now. I like Washington State's offense to do enough with Nick Folk.
Remember I threw the paper?
You did throw the
means
paper.
Records all they don't matter.
Yeah, that is
team.
true. But I'm going with the Cougs and Mr. Mike Leach, who you're a big fan of.
All right. Fair enough. I'm not gonna fault you for that. So you think the apple's gonna be red? I think it's gonna be green. For sure.
We'll see what color the apple is. All right.
I think it's gold actually, but here's.
Speaking of Stanford, we mentioned Stanford.
Yeah.
If Washington State does lose, Stanford would go to the Pac-12 championship game. They face Notre Dame in a non-conference matchup this week. Who do you see winning that game?
This game, it's come down to, let's be smart here with this pick. It's about matchups. And I don't like Notre Dame's rush defense at all. And they're playing against Stanford, who's Bryce Love is finally healthy again.
Yeah.
And even when he wasn't healthy, he was doing a number on defenses still. So, healthy Love, I really like him to control the game. And, Stanford's actually been throwing the ball a lot better the last few weeks too. With Bryce Love being hurt, that it almost like it forced them to develop more of a passing game because they couldn't rely on him every other snap. So with that being said, now that he's healthy, he's looked a lot better too the last week or two because he's had more running lanes because they have teams have to respect the pass. If not, they've got some tall receivers that they're just pushing downfield to get a big chunk play here and there to keep the pressure off of him, so he's able to gash schools.
Yeah, after that Miami loss for Notre Dame, they've been struggling. Wimbush, Josh Adams has been banged up. Notre Dame hasn't been playing well on the road. This one's at Stanford. All those factors considered, what's at stake for Stanford? They could still make a really good bowl game as well.
Let's be honest. Notre Dame shouldn't have beaten Navy last week.
Yeah,
Notre
Dame
that might be
Navy.
slightly slanted to me. Really liking Navy a lot, but I thought Navy should have won that game.
Yeah, Navy. They've had a disappointing season this year.
They have, but they still can They can still fix it with beating Army.
Right, but just to the point
yeah.
that Notre Dame really, that's just a testament to where they're at right now.
Yeah.
So I've got Stanford winning this game.
Yep.
All right, we're not going to spend too much time on our marquee matchup just because the after show is going to focus on the marquee game of the week, which is the Iron Bowl, Alabama versus Auburn.
Yep.
But Jonathan, what I wanted us to do was just give a key matchup in the game for our viewers. So what do you think a key matchup is for this one?
I would like to see, mainly because I feel like the trenches are a natural pick, both sides of the ball. But I want to see how the Auburn linebackers handling the assignment of spying on Hurts this game. I think that'll be a big indication on how Auburn's defense does against them, because this is the one difference between playing Georgia, a great running team, and an Alabama running style, is the fact that it's more of an option where you have to focus on Hurts, where literally they're just both putting two guys on whoever the running back was against Georgia.
Yeah.
And one had the left side, one had the right side, pretty much, and the other would just follow.
What Auburn did well against Georgia was they took away what Georgia did best, and they completely dominated them. So, what do you take away against Alabama? That's definitely an interesting matchup. For me, it's, how much of a push is Auburn's offensive line going to get on a banged-up Alabama defensive line? Kerryon Johnson, he's an outsider to kind of dark horse Heisman candidate. He's had a lot of touchdowns this year, over 1,000 yards. So a big game against Alabama could get him an invitation to New York. But that's something I'm really looking forward to seeing in that one. So that's all we're just a teaser for our after show. You'll have to tune in to see who Jonathan and I pick in that one. It's probably not going to be a surprise.
No, the playoff committee. They leave the hats at the door and stuff. See, I was actually able to leave mine at the door, but it was still just inside the door. I couldn't quite leave it outside the door, but that's the best. I'm trying, guys. I'm really trying. It's just really hard this week, especially.
Yeah, for sure. Just throw the pieces of paper out
on
the floor. All right, we appreciate you guys watching our show. Be sure to tune in next week. We're going to be previewing the championship games and recapping all these rivalry games for you guys and giving our players of the week. So make sure you tune in to college football this week, and we want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving.
Yep, sure.
And we will see you guys next week.
Don't sleep too much on that turkey.